Mm-hmm. That's what they call a bunch of works, right? I think they renamed it to they have a new one now. I forgot what's called. North something. It's a new database system. But Adventure Works been around for a while. Okay, so we got the select the column names followed by the order by clause. Okay, the order clause here we can leave it as is for now, and we're going to add the next one is the we're going to filter this result by using the where clause. Okay, so the where comes before the order and comes after the from. The where clause is a conditional clause. Okay, you can select filter only a certain result set based on a condition. So the where followed by an expression. Expression in this case would be a condition. So a condition would be something like you always evaluate something to true or false. Okay, so I can say if 1 equals 1, that means where 1 equals 1 is always true, right? So that means the statement will run and it will return all these results set. So here, example, it just means where 1 equals 1. This one has nothing to do what these are. It just say here's an expression when true equals true. Okay. So this equal sign here is also used for assignment. It's also used for equality, okay, in SQL Server. So there's no like equal in here. Okay, just the equal sign means equal. And so if I run it, I get the same result. I get all 1960, 614 here. If I put 1 equals 2, that's false. Because this is false, everything will not return. Okay, so that is a condition. That condition controls the result set, the returning result set. So when this is ready to return, it needs to check if there's a where clause. If there's a where clause, then it checks this condition. If the condition is met, then and only then it will return the result set based on this condition. So let's do something a little bit more practical. If I go back to here, this is the result here. So as you can see, I have cities here, cities and postal code and address here. So let's just say that I want to return all the address, city, and postcode from only the city that is called York, right? So city equals to York. That's what it means. So I want to only get all the York cities. The rest could be ignored. So that means I can do something like where the city, which is this one here, city equals York. Means exactly the word York. It has to match that. If it doesn't match that, then none returns. Okay, so if I execute that, you see that it returns only York's cities, and there are 117 of them. If I scroll down, it all should be just York. So the spelling in this case matters. I don't think it's case sensitive. I can put a capital K here, and I should still get the result set. Okay, it's not case sensitive, so it will still work. But if I put an extra space here, you see, I think it probably truncates the space already, so that's good. Give it in front, then that doesn't work, right? But just make sure you have the exact spelling, and it matches the city here. And I can also use the or, the and so on. So this is just one condition. If I want to say if city is equal to York or what's another city, right? If I do another or Ottawa or Seattle, it goes. So I can say here city is equal to York. I put word or. I have to do it again. I have to say city equals Ottawa, like that. I can't just say city equals New York or Ottawa or something. It doesn't work, right? It has to use the variable name or the city column to equate that with another word again. Or city equals Miami. So any of those cities will work. And when I execute this, you see that it returns all three cities. That's Ottawa, York, Ottawa, and the Miami. So it's an or, not an and. If you and, you're not going to get anything. There's no city called New York, York, and Ottawa, and Miami. This work. So that's the where clause. And it will execute from left to right. And as you can see, I'm using like the same city equals something, something, something 3 times. If I have like 10 cities, that's a lot of work to type, right? So instead of doing this way, there's a shortcut to do this, and I'll rewrite it down here so you can see that. I'll just comment this out. You cannot have 2 where clauses, by the way. So I'm going to comment that out. And as you can see, I can put comments in there. It will still work because that's a comment. That's not the end of the statement yet. And so instead of saying equals that, I can use the word in followed by a pair of brackets. The inside the brackets, I just put the results. The actual text I want to check. So equal to York, comma, Miami. Wait. Let's see, where city? Oh, in here?
Yeah.
No, it should be bracket. I'm wondering if I have. Is it this one here? I don't remember. No, I'm probably missing the syntax. Where city as a non-boolean text specifying context condition is expected. Oh, let's see, where. Oh, what is the syntax? Where in. Do I have it here? It is?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, so, okay, great. Thank you. You were right. Yeah.
I just had that with you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So this way you can omit, retyping city equals something like that. It's just shorter this way, and so the and operator is kind of useful in this scenario. And if you run, you get the same result, right? All 134 rows. And you can keep building this city and any one of these, and then something else. And let's just say that and zip is 59140. But you can say and postal code equals, let's say 91370. And so now it's not true because I guess none of these are part of that. So actually, no, postcode is with zip code, right? Yeah, you have to use yeah, I can't use the alias. Yeah, so I guess there's no city of that has a zip code, that one. So the end is not true. So I get nothing returned there. All right, so that's the where clause. Where clause is quite straightforward, and in the book, also in my notes, shows a series of what do we call conditions you can use. Let's see if it's here. Oh, this is so hard to run. Okay, see, yeah, these operators here. These are the ones you can use in the where clause because these are just operators, right? The some are the relational, some are just the equality operators. And between is also another very important one. Between certain range of numbers or names. Like is a special keyword that you can use as a wildcard. Usually you use that in conjunction with the percent. I'll show that in a minute. The and we just did here. So yeah, it is a parentheses. And then exists. This we're not going to do this one here, but I'll put a sample down here you can see. But exist means to check if a subquery has certain situations, a certain result set. Okay, so usually you run two queries together, and you check if the ID or the code or the value of some of one query exists in another query. If so, then that's true, and so on. But usually these up here are the ones that are most commonly used. Okay, the and or not is just the reverse. Or you can also use these operators here. And then you can see there's a lot more than your typical language. Like the not equal, you have the not with the equal sign, and then the two brackets facing each other. This all mean not. And also the word not here. So it's a lot of. Okay, so let's look at the like, and we look at the and already, and the or not, or, between and like. So those are, let me comment this out now. So we say where city equals, we say York, right? We did York. That's the exact match. It only returns to York. 1/17 of them. If you want to check something, return any city that started with the letter Y, then you can't just do that. If you do that, it just means Y. There's none. But if you use the keyword like instead of the equal sign, like, city like Y, and in this case, again, you're just matching the single character Y. It doesn't return the result set. But if you put the percent after the Y, then the percent becomes a wildcard. That means it begins with the letter Y, and then the rest, it doesn't matter, right? As long as it begins with the letter Y, return all of those. So you can see a lot more than the 134. We get 213 now because all the cities starts with Y are now returned. The York, and let's scroll down here. You get some the Yakima, and then the only two of them. Okay, so that's what the like is for. So the like is used with the percent. Okay, you can't put equal and then that. If you do that, that means exactly that character, right? It takes that as a literal character, and there's no city with a Y%. So you're not going to get anything returned. Okay, so just be careful when you use the equal sign with the dollar with the percent versus the like with the percent. No, just the percent. And this percent can be used in multiple places, not just one. If you put one in front, that means any word that has a letter Y in it, right? Begins with any character and ends with any character, but has a Y in it. If there's no Y in it, those will be ignored. So if I do that, I'm going to get a lot more than the 234. I get 3,500 of them. So all the cities that has a Y in it, whether it's beginning with Y, other than Y, ends in Y, or has a Y in between. So if you scroll down, you see all the cities would have Y in there. So Royal Oak here, Oregon City, the last is a Y, and so on. So that's a really useful wildcard in search situations. You can use, again, a lot more. End, postal code, and then again like, and so on. You can keep doing that. And you have a conjunction conditional in here. So again, it's not case sensitive. So that's the like. Between. So you can say again where city between the letter A and letter B. So return return all the city. Well, let's see what it was like between A and B, and you get a result 28 of them that has a city between A and B. So all the A's and B's will be returned. Oh yeah, not including B. It's exclusive. To put here, D. They get all the cities from A through C. Okay, so a range can be a characters or a date or number or money, just any range. So the between is also really, really helpful. Because this is something I'm saying, if this is the same as saying if city is greater than or equal to A and city is less than D. That's exactly the same thing, right? It's between A and D. Okay, I should get the same result, 4774, and I get 4774 down here. So the equivalent of that is between. Just one is less to type, I guess. All right, so we got that, and then the next one, we got the clause, and then let's talk about the group by. So group by, there's some rules. I want to go over that a little bit first. We got the word clause, the group by. Now group by has some rules. The example here, as you can see, it has a result set that returns the sales order ID and then the number of quantities are sold and for that order ID. So if you were to count like how many quantities for each order, you can manually count these, like 3, 4, 4, 3, 3, 4, 3, 6 is 0, and then so on. And you can, it's easy to count this example where you have like 1,000 of them. That's a lot of work to do. And that's what the group by comes in. The group by can automatically group the same ID and add all these. You can add all these up and group them together as their own group. And so instead of doing this way, you can add it to a group so that you get a collection. Actually, the next one, it shows you the example here. We'll do in a minute here. So we group together. It will do the count for you automatically, so you can easily see it. Okay. Some rules. Before we get there, these are functions, aggregate functions. These are again only applicable, I think, usually inside Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, so TSQL functions. I don't think it'll work on other systems. So you can get the average. You can count how many records there are, how many rows, and you can get the maximum value or the minimum value out of that result set. And the sum, the standard deviation, there's some numbers in there, and so on. So the most common ones you use are probably the average and the average, count, and sum. Those three are quite common. The max and minimum is also really helpful if you want to know right away what is the largest value, the smallest value. And these are called aggregate functions. Okay, so when you use aggregate, let's just go back and do one really quick. So over here, these numbers are, I don't think there's having any use for numbers in here for us to sample that. Yeah, these are numbers, but then have text, so I can't really use sum. But I can get the minimum and maximum. Those works for both text and numbers. So let's just say if I get the maximum value in the city here, it should return that. Okay, so let's just say I'm going to go and create a new statement. Let me just start with a new one. So let's say here I do select the maximum and then what maximum of what the city from person.address. Okay, and this is going to return only one value. because you're only getting the maximum from that here, the largest value, which is in this case be Zealand. If there's a lot of Zealands, it's going to pick only one. It's the same thing. And then the minimum will be just the smallest, which is A something, right? What if you do like both? Okay, then you get both of them, right? What is the smallest city, the smallest number, and the largest, and you put them there. So right away you know that. Average, yeah, you can't. Average has to be numbers only, right? So this one, it doesn't work. It doesn't have numbers, I think. So let's see if I go back to the top. Select that, execute. So numbers, we can use like the state province ID. Yeah, we can use the state province ID. It's all numbers. Okay, so I can do a average of the state province ID, and that should give me the average. For that would be like 49. That's the average of all those numbers. Add them together, and you take the average. If you want to know the sum, you can do the same thing. Sum of the state province ID. I'm just doing some numbers. Usually you don't do this, but show you that. That's how you do calculation right away without adding every single row by row. You use the function to do that for you. You get the number instantly. So these are called aggregates because they're functions. And so I'm going to go and maybe remove some of these. We'll just, we remove that. We'll keep the average. We'll just keep the average. So if I get the average of the state ID, again, just numbers, it's 49, then that's fine. If I want to return also all the state province ID, I want to see them as well. Right? I see the numbers and also see the average. So if I run that, you'll see that it doesn't work. So I cannot put one part where I have a function and then another column here without a function to it, aggregate. Okay, this is a rule that you must use a group by clause. Because now the average comes in, just one number, and then you have a column, a row of state IDs. So there's a conflict here in the I guess the coding or the calculation. So if you're using in this scenario where you have a column, at least one column by itself, it's now wrapped inside a aggregate, you must use the group by. You saw earlier if I put the sum, no problem, right? They're all aggregates, there's no problem. As soon as you have one by itself, then you have to use the group by. That means I have to add here group by, and then you have to group by one of these columns. And actually you have to put all the columns that are not wrapped inside an aggregate. You have to list them here, all of them. If you have 10 of them, you have to put 10 of them there. Okay. Otherwise, take out the average, remove that, and then you don't have to use the group by. Okay, it's just a rule. And so now, to make this work, you have to put the state province ID here, and then if I run it, it would know how to do that. So when you do this way, though, the results say it's quite different. As you can see, it just means what is the average for each ID, and that in itself is going to be the same number, right? Because there's no I think they're all the same. Yeah, they're all the same. Because again, this is not a really good example, because there's no unique or duplicates, I guess, inside this ID here. If you have a duplicate numbers, then they ought to add all those up, the same ID, add them up, get the average, assigned to that ID. Okay. like one example here, over here, like this one here. It will add like, okay, this is same ID, so I have two of them. You add them up, they're 2, divided by 2, you get, 1, so the average. They add this, there are 5 of them, add them up, you get average. So it will add all these up, get the average, and send it to a single column, single number. So it'll work in this example here nicely. So, like down here. So you can see that the result set is now tabulated. Here, we're using the sum instead of average. So you sum, you add them all the sum, count all the quantities, assign that to each of these groups. So each cell order ID. And they're now counted, tabulated for you automatically, so that it's nicely displayed and used for your whatever purpose you want to use it for. So again, just the rule, if you don't have a average, for example, if I take that out and I run it, right, that's fine, no problem. And if I have, let's just say, what's another column I have in here? I want to see what's like in there. So the city, city and postal code. Okay, so we've seen those before. I put here city, those 2. So again, if I put any fields in there, if I use the word group by, I have to put that inside here. Okay? Otherwise, don't use group by. Now, the next one I want to cover is the having clause. Having clause. Having clause is kind of similar to the where clause. Okay, so again, is the order. Select from where group by, and after group by is the having clause. After the having clause is the order by. Okay, so based on the group by, and then you have a having clause here. The having clause is, let's do something here. Well, if I put city again, okay, so I got that 613 of them. So this result set, I have 613 of them. And if I do a where clause before that, let's just say I want to get only those city that, the city that is equal to Bonn. So where city is Bonn, or city is Atlanta. Just those 2 cities, right? Then you get, that's only one. That's,
You missed it in the column.
oh, I did?
Yep.
Great. Thank you. So, so there you have Bonn and Atlanta. If I don't have, if I do this, I got a lot more, right? You see that I got a lot. I got like 66 rows for the city Bonn and Atlanta, but the Bonn has like 20, has this state province ID 20, 53, 20, 20, and so on. When I do a group by, let's just say if I do a group by, then I get a different number. Let me see one more time. 17, 20, and 53. Okay, as you can see, there's only 3 groups. The numbers here, if I were to sort them, I'll show you the sort. Order by state province ID. I'll just run the first 3 lines here without the group by. Just select those. Okay, so when I sort the result, I get 66 rows, but the numbers in the province ID I only get 3 unique numbers, right? 17 are for Atlanta, all the bonds are 20, right? And then the other bond has 53, the 2 53s. Okay? So 3 unique sets of numbers. When you group them together, what it would do is it would look at these numbers, and since 17 is unique for the Atlanta, you're going to say, I'm going to group the city, all the Atlanta cities based on the same ID. Then the bond, all of these has the same 20 until right about here. All these has the ID of 20. We also have one group of bonds in the same city, but has a different code, 53. Okay, so that's what this group by is for. The group by is, it will group those together. So that's what you see. Atlanta has the ID of 17. Bond has, one group has 20, one group has 53. So it puts all together in a unique, just say like a unique count. Okay.
Is that more distinct?
Yeah, kind of. Well, similar, distinct. Yeah, similar. Right. So now with the group by, now I got the result set of this is only 3, right? Versus if I only did that, I had 66 of them. Okay? So it shortens that to only 3 now. Now the having clause, having clause will act on this 3 result set here. Okay? So it's like you do another query, another filter, because the where clause is one filter. The having clause is a second filter. It filters the result set of all of these, which is only 3 records. So if I do like having something equals something, if it's true, then it will only return how many ever there are here from here. Okay. So if I say having, for example, if I say state province ID greater than, let's just say 18. In that case, it's going to return only 2 here. Okay, because now the other one is no longer valid. So it's going to return based on the previous, everything up to the group by. So whatever the result set here, I do another filter. This having clause filters these result set and not the original result set out here. Okay, I'm not sure that makes sense, but it's a 2-layer of filter. Okay, so the where clause acts on this select statement. The having clause acts on the group by, and the actual result set of the previous where clause. I mean, I don't have to have a where clause. I could take this out completely. Okay, it's the result set of this first select statement. Whatever that is, based on the group by, if I run this, I have 613 of them. I did not use the filter for where clause. I have 613. But now if I do a filter based on this 613, only returns those that have the state province ID greater than 18. Now I'm going to reduce that down to only 401. Okay. And this is not true if I were to do something like this, where state province is greater than 18. Is it true? Is it going to be 401? It's not, right? It's completely different, because I have a lot more if it's only the first filter here. But because I'm grouping them together based on the city, I'm shortening that result set to only 613 rows, because again, like Joe mentioned, it's like distinct, right? We remove all the duplicates. It's now distinct, and so from there, I'm going to choose only those that have greater than 18, and then from that, it reduced that down to only 401. So it lost about 200. So that's where the having clause comes in. It's the end of the group by. And if I take out the group by, and then you see that it doesn't work. Okay, so it must it only works with the group by. If you don't have a group by clause, you cannot use it by itself like that. So they're kind of like, this is dependent on the group by clause, but the group by is not dependent on the having clause. Okay, so and then at the end of all of these, you can still sort them, order by, and then you can put city if you want, and then now you get all 104 sorted by the city name. Okay, so does it make sense? I know it got confusing sometimes, but you just remember that the having clause must work with the group by clause. You cannot use it by itself. The group by, you can, but if you use group by, all these columns must be relisted down here. If any of those columns is not wrapped inside an aggregate, okay. If I put like the max like that, then I cannot put city down here. Well, I mean, I guess I can. Well, let's see, but I don't think it does. Yeah, I guess it does. You don't have to put it, but anything that is not wrapped inside a function, you must put down here. So if I just do that, it will tell you that it's an error because I have to put that inside the group by clause. Okay, and also the having clause here. Yeah, I didn't put city here. Let's take that out. City. Back to where it was before. Okay, so the having clause here. This is a field right here. This having clause, this column here, doesn't have to be one of these selected columns. It could be anything. It could be any of these fields inside the original table. So, for example, here we have addresses, city, and code, and postal code, and so on. I could say having the postal code greater than or equal to, what was it, greater than 9,000. I mean, okay, you can do that, and it will. What happened here? Oh yeah, it's not. Yeah, I didn't include it. I thought you could do that, but I guess not. Postal code is not having. It's not aggregate or group by. I guess it must be part of the group by. Let's see, the postal code. Yeah, I can convert. Okay, so different data type. All right, so we could put. I guess what I want to show was that the group by here, these columns here don't have to be listed here in the select to use them. Okay, I could use that because it's part of the table, but it doesn't have to be only from here. I can grab it from a different column as well and use that in the group by clause.
And the same is true for where statements?
Yeah, the where as well. Yep, it doesn't be only these. These are only what I want to show in the result set. When I do any conditional operations, I can grab from any column in the table as long as it's part of that. Okay, and so you can see I can use the postal code here, even though it's not part of that original select statement. So this is the, I guess, sort of the complete select statement for us to use in this class. We're not going to do more than this. We're not going to do any subquery. If you want to look more into that, you can. But we're not going to do that. Maybe like towards the end of the semester when we do functions and we do scripts, we may revisit the subquery. But for now, I think this is enough for the select statement. All right. So, any questions? If you do have any questions, just again shoot me an email. One thing I do want to mention, the homework assignment. Let's go there really quick. I want to show you something, and so you understand how that works, because I have similar questions from the past. So inside the assignment here, okay, so basically you're going to download this document and open it and then follow the instructions. Okay, so like right down here, okay, so yeah, write your code and run it, and then if you can, just run and see the result here, and then grab a screenshot of your code and also your result set, and then paste it right here so I can see them. If it's not, you just paste your code here, and then that's fine. Okay, so I can see them. But down here we ask you to say modify the statement above. Modify the statement above. That means you want to keep everything we had here. Okay, don't delete everything or something, remove something, and then it will work. So just basically you're adding to the previous statement. If I say that, okay, and I have seen in the past they kind of rewrote the whole thing and they just include this part in it. Okay, so that means I want you to keep everything in part 2. If that works, great. Copy all that and then move it down here and then add the additional requirements to that same statement. Okay, otherwise, you're not going to get the same result. Okay, and usually do a lot here. So a couple of these are dependent on the previous assignment or questions. So if there's anything here that is unclear or something, just let me know. Okay, I think that will do it. So next week we will do another query, the same select statements, but this time we'll be doing query data from 2 or more tables. Now we just do one table. Next week we'll just do multiple tables using the join statements.